Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Three Uniques. I'm really happy to introduce you to Jessica Robson. Hey, Jess, how are you doing today?
So good, Brenda. So happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you here too. So Jess is a communication coach. She's a speaker and she's also a copywriter, fabulous copywriter. She's actually worked on my website. So really excited about the work that she's done and she does for other people. So Jess, do you want to tell the people about anything else about you that they should know?
Yeah, for sure. So as Brenda said, I'm a communication coach, speaker, and copywriter. And the interesting thing is that order has recently been flipped, I guess. So I've been copywriting for the last 7 years. Prior to that, I was working in human resources and store leadership roles within Lululemon. And that's actually where I found my passion for communication. So leaving the company in 2013, jumping into the world of copywriting, of freelancing, of entrepreneurship, knew nothing about what I was doing, but started that adventure. And over time really found that yes, writing is a huge part of what I care so deeply about, but the support of people finding their voice, of finding their language, of finding their self-expression, and then helping them use that to really effectively and powerfully communicate with people around them, build great relationships. That's what's really formed up the last 6-8 months of my life and my work life and what I'm stepping fully into now. So that's the work side. I live in Squamish, BC, which is Canada's playground, with my husband, John, and our great dog, Quixote, and our small cat, Roger Kevin. So 2 names hyphenated. Couldn't help ourselves.
Help yourself. Couldn't leave one, had to have both.
Exactly.
And in your beautiful place in Squamish, BC, you live by a river, you've got a sauna and a pizza oven, which I totally love.
Yes, totally. And learning how to grow our own vegetables to make pizzas, but I will not probably grow the grain. That just sounds like way too much work.
The grain and everything, like that.
It should be something. Totally. Yeah. And should we mention, Brenda, that we go back quite a ways from working together while you were at Earl's, and that Earl's was actually that piece when I was 15 to 23, I guess, when I worked at a couple different stores that set me up to be able to work with you all that, I guess like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did some facilitation work for us there, and you also did some content writing, some training and development work for us. So yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And whenever we connect, it's just like jam. So
yeah, really easy.
So Jess, you're here to share your 3 uniques with us today. So how about it?
Okay. Yes. So my 3 are what I struggled with doing one word. So we've got a couple 2-worders in there. So the first one is distillation. The second is holding space. And the third is conscious communication.
Ooh, these are getting better and better. Every time I interview people, I'm just like, new words are coming out. So let's go right up to the top. So distillation.
Yes. So distillation is, in my perspective, the ability to listen to what someone's saying, listen between the lines, or kind of read between the lines or between the words they're sharing. And then with that really intent listening present, hearing what they're actually saying and reflecting it back at them. So how that's really supported me from a copywriting perspective is in simple interviews with new clients, being able to hear them talk about themselves, talk about their business, talk about their why, even speak about their community and their clients, and then find what I like to call the red thread that weaves it all together. Often what I find especially when working with entrepreneurs or small business owners who are, in their words, struggling to find the way that they want to communicate about their business, is they're really powerfully speaking about it, but they just don't know. And they're using words that are really unique to them and really special, almost in a way, or really meaningful. But because they're so kind of in the weeds or in the trees and can't see the forest, if you will, they don't hear the potency of what they're saying. So to be able to sit with someone, take into account all that they're sharing, but then pull out those key gems, if you will, and speak them back to them in short sentences that they're either already saying or that they just haven't been able to kind of put those words together quite yet. It's a profound experience to be able to watch them witness themselves through being able to simply have listened in a way that gave them a new way to hear what they had to say.
And speaking from firsthand experience, working with you on my website, you let me go that way. Like I think I walked in feeling clear about what I wanted, but you were really good about just asking questions and letting me, as you said, like that red thread, like letting me go down that course and then pulling out the keywords or key phrases that really embodied the work or what I stood for, or what I wanted to do for my clients. So yeah, totally. I see it firsthand. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's rad. And it's it's neat to even hear that from someone who, in my experience, you're an incredibly clear communicator. You're connected to your goals, you know your values, and you're always in a self-reflection space. So to be able to open up something even further is a really unique way to allow that distillation to continue to support. And it's not just in the copywriting space, but even thinking about working with people in defining their values, or having a deeper sense of their emotional self. So I've recently been certified in facilitating the EQI 2.0, which is an emotional intelligence assessment and model or tool that helps us really see how our emotions manifest in our actions and our words. So how much we're impacted by them, and then how much we maybe have a better handle on them and can be in choice around how they show up. But in listening to what people share, to be able to hear the questions they might not be asking themselves yet, that could give them a deeper sense of understanding of a feeling or an emotion or a belief that's there. Those are some of my favorite conversations, where there's a new understanding on a deeper level of someone who already has a sense of self-awareness or a sense of clarity.
Lovely. Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, so many adjectives.
Oh no, my gosh.
So number 2, what's your second unique?
The second unique is holding space. So I have the privilege of being educated by, mentored by, and led by a ton of really fantastic leadership coaches, yoga teachers, facilitators over the last 10 years in particular. And 2 teachers really come to mind when I think about this principle of holding space: Suzanne Conrad and my friend and teacher, Alex Mazerol. So the concept and the idea is, how I manifest it at least, is being a space when I'm in relationship with someone for absolutely anything to be shared, for someone to have any experience that they're having, whether that's a big emotion, a big frustration, a deep sense of sadness, grief, anything, and allow them to have that experience without my needing to change, fix, adjust, coach, absolutely anything. But to be there and be present with them, allow them to have that experience that they're having, not take it on personally. So I don't need to feel the deep sense of grief that they're feeling, but allow them to have the space to feel it. And in watching incredible facilitators and leaders apply that in the rooms that they've been leading, and then to see opportunities for me to start to hold that space for other people, it started to become something that, again, has supported in the copywriting space, because who knew that understanding your communication in your business is emotional, but it is, and is also a really supportive tool in the communication coaching space as well, because our feelings and our emotions are more knitted up in the majority of the aspects of our life than we really do know. And so to be able to be a safe space for anything to come up for anyone I'm working with, or even spending time with just relationally, knowing that they can share it, judgment-free zone, and simply appreciate them for having shared it after, is a really unique thing that I take a lot of actual privilege in being able to support people with.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And having worked with Suzanne, like yourself, that concept of holding space is really powerful when you can master it. And even holding space for yourself, right? So it's not just for the other people, but it's also for yourself, the listening that comes from that, and that inner hearing of what you're doing that really supports your vision, your values, and then maybe what you're not doing, right? That's in contrast or contradicting.
Totally.
And, is causing grief or angst for you, and the decisions that you're making are the outcomes of your decisions. So just even taking that time for space, like not just idly going through like social media or even listening to music, but just like clear space where
actual legitimate quiet.
Totally. You can like work through things. It's awesome.
Yeah. And that's it's the interesting thing about being somewhat of an empath or a sensitive sensing person, is it's so easy to pour that out all the time and to forget the necessity to hold that container, create a little container, to have that space for holding it, or holding that space for self at the same time.
Yeah.
So
awesome. And number 3, conscious communication.
So as it can probably evident in the fact that it's about copywriting and communication, I care incredibly deeply about people being self-expressed, whether that's in how they speak, how they represent themselves through what they wear, how they carry themselves through their lives, finding a sense of understanding of their beliefs and values, and then being able to confidently and courageously bring that out. What I also care about and am working constantly to find new ways to express is the dignity and humanity of all people. And in that pursuit, I know that my cisgendered, heterosexual, white woman settler identity only gives me a limited lens and a limited perspective to one lived experience. So in pursuing coaching and mentorship and education from Black and Indigenous leaders in the anti-racism space, in the decolonization space, and learning from as many people as I can, from as many lived experiences as I can, it's my attempt at stepping into consciously communicating in every opportunity that I can. And so whether that's really honoring and respecting people's pronouns and how they like to be identified or prefer to be identified, to knowing the nuances and subtleties of specific words that actually have generationally been a source of trauma and harm for people. When I step into consciously communicating, I have the ability to make space for as many lived experiences as possible, honor and appreciate the humanity of all people, and still be able to find my self-expression in that space. And it's a nuanced practice for sure, to be able to still feel like myself while I'm also caring for and tending to the experiences of the people around me. And I truly do believe that's what's needed now, is a little more consciousness in how we express, way more listening. My goodness, if there's not a part of conscious communication that needs to be exercised, it's our ability to listen and sit with that uncomfortable swell that can come up when one of maybe our values or beliefs or perspectives on a way something is or quote unquote should be, not that I believe that much in shoulds, but to be able to sit with that and not feel like we have to jump out of our skin or get defensive or protect ourselves in some way, but to be able to get curious about what that feeling actually is, and then allow that curiosity to lead us more so forward and lead us into relationship and connection with people around us. So it's a big concept, but it's something that I'm in pursuit of every day, and that I'm avidly and constantly checking and testing myself on to be more so that person all the time.
I love that. Like you, I've been consciously trying to apply it. And then when I don't, even consciously acknowledging that I'm not doing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then forgiving myself and vocalizing it. And some people have said, hey, you don't need to worry about that. And I'm like, no, I think I feel like I do, because in the past I would have maybe said something that was just not aware, like just not consciously aware of how that potentially could impact somebody, not thinking of it from a diversity lens or a racial lens or colonialization or any of those sort of contexts, and then making the mistake and just sort of like overriding it with like, oh, you know what, that's just me being like flighty or not understanding the situation. Sure. Versus now I'm consciously even acknowledging, hey, you know what, I just made a mistake in my syntax or like some type of language that I used. Sorry about that. Some people brush it off, and I'm like, I still want to admit that I'm learning. I've made a mistake. I'm becoming more and more aware as I also make mistakes.
Yes.
And acknowledging it, that's okay. And then in turn, it may also give some comfort to other people that when they make similar type mistakes, that it's okay just to say, you know what, we're learning, we're making mistakes, and every day we're getting better and better with this.
100%. You couldn't have nailed it better. Yeah.
There's big things that need to change in that arena. Like obviously with like systematic racism, we need to look at like anything in organizations, like how we're hiring people or developing people or promoting people into different levels in the organization. Board governance is an area that I'm really passionate about, and I want to look at more as far as diversity of women on boards and people of color. But I think it's also just our sort of everyday living with it. Right. And so it's just like in our conversations over a glass of wine with girlfriends, whatever, things will come up when we're like not aware. And then when we become aware, it's like going back even. And we know a concept called take two. It's like, you know what, I need to go back to that conversation. Just doing it. I said something yesterday, reflecting on it. That wasn't good. And I just need to reset that conversation again.
And you're pointing to something, this like change is clunky. It's uncomfortable. And we are in the pursuit of, whether it is conscious communication or people who are in the pursuit of co-conspiratorship or allyship or being anti-racist, we are going to mess up. There are hundreds of years of systemic challenges that we are working to dismantle. And the ability to, my friend Rachel Ricketts is another educator in the anti-racism space, and she's good, like she's constantly saying, if you know better, do better. And when we know better, then we commit to doing better. And when we are called in, which is a term that I've heard a lot of educators using, especially when there's, you know, language someone's using is a simple example, and you're called into an invitation to shift it, take it as an opportunity for curiosity, appreciate the feedback, and then start doing that little bit of a dig, start doing that work and unpacking it and seeing what it is that could look or sound or otherwise be different. And it's not a comfortable process. And I think that's part of it. Even doing a take two with a friend, even if in a conversation over wine, as you were talking about, coming back the next day and doing that take two and modeling what it looks like to say like, hey, I had to think about it, not proud of that moment I had, doing a take two, even if they're, oh, don't worry about it, be like, it's in alignment with my values to be, when I know better, to do better. And this is that opportunity. Something as simple as that to bigger things that happen, whether it's in the workplace or otherwise, to be in acknowledgement that change processes take time, and they take failing and falling on our faces, and the willingness to get back up and face it again and be brave is what's going to help these help change actually start to accumulate and create traction.
Awesome. Love the conversation.
Me too.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Yes.
So what do people sometimes get wrong about you?
Ooh, great question, Brenda. People sometimes get wrong. It's an interesting one. When I'm kicking off work with new people, or when someone asks for some feedback or some support with a piece of copywriting, let's just say, they'll say, well, I know you're really busy. And it's really interesting because I've done a lot of conscious work to de-busy life in a way. And I mean, 2020 has really simplified things by force, if not by choice. But in general, I always get curious when that comes up about what I'm showing and what parts of my life I'm modeling or that I'm sharing maybe publicly, because I have a full life, but I don't always have a full schedule. And I choose pockets of time to be slow and to be quiet and to take space and hold space for myself, and the passions that I've got and that kind of thing. And so it's an interesting concept, I guess, when I hear someone reflecting like, oh, you're just so busy, I see you around all the time, to actually feel not that. So that's one, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool one. And even just when you're saying about like taking the time to hold space, I think I know some people that are really conscious about putting that, say, like on social media, like I'm turning off social media for the next week or something like that. Cause they're holding space, they're recharging, they're doing self-care, they're doing research or reading or just not being on social media. And not enough people, I guess, maybe do that. And so then it looks like, depending on like how often someone's tuning into like what you're doing in your life or seeing you out there in the community or in the business world, they may think of you as being a busy person. But I also think it's a bit of a language or a context shift for people. Full is very different. Full like links back to purpose. It's like I'm living a full, purposeful life versus I'm trying to get through or trying to, survive my busy, frantic work schedule or whatever, juggling multiple tasks, right? It's like that whole adage on job descriptions, you need to be able to juggle multiple priorities. Like no one can do that successfully. But if it's aligned to my purpose, then I can have a full like
calendar even.
Yeah, calendar, but it's doing the things that really drive me. And I just like innately want to do those things. It doesn't take like some frantic effort to try and get those things done or
100%.
Mastermind like your schedule and be crafty that way. So thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And on a fun note, what's something that you're watching on Netflix right now or Prime or something that you're just like I'm totally addicted to this. This is awesome. And it's like, I have to watch it all the time. Or you've been watching something else in the last couple of months.
Yeah, so two come to mind. One, I haven't had a TV in years, and I realized that Grey's Anatomy was on Netflix.
Yeah.
So I went back and watched a couple seasons that I had missed. And I don't know why, I just love the story, and it's so dramatic, and there's love and like whatever. And then the other one that maybe I'm less than proud of, but at the same time, like it was just great, like not even brain food, far from it, was Selling Sunset, which is a real estate show on Netflix. Yeah.
I'm
And
hearing
like,
that one. I've watched a couple episodes of it. Yeah.
yeah, the outfits are really great. Some of the houses, maybe it's like I could play it off to like, I'm super interested in real estate and architecture. I am, but not in this context. So yeah, the houses are amazing. And then, you know, it's just the drama of a reality show.
Amazing. Yeah. So Jess, thanks so much for being on today. I really appreciate you going into detail about your three uniques. They are very unique. And I can also see how they, you know, connect to each other, right? It brings out definitely the Jess Robson that I know. So thank you so much for sharing them with us.
Thanks for having me. So appreciate it.
And to everyone else that's been listening in today to hear about Jess's three uniques, I just want to continue to encourage you to get out there, share your three uniques with the world. There's something that the world needs that they might not know about right now, and they're not going to necessarily know about it maybe from a resume or from your basic LinkedIn profile. So get out there, get on video, you know, write a blog post, share something on Instagram or Twitter about what you're doing, what you're passionate about, what your purpose is. Someone needs what you've got. Thanks, everyone.